the farmer to the florist, from the baker to the bookkeeper, and everyone in between. Welcome to Your Country Business. Welcome to episode 3 of Your Country Business, the show that is all about business in the bush. We're sharing the stories of the business owners and community leaders that make up this wonderful part of rural and remote Australia. I'm your host, Shane Sellers, fellow country business owner. I'm really passionate about business in the bush and growing the communities that these businesses operate in. Quick shout out to our sponsor, ClearLogic Solutions, which is my business. This podcast would not be possible without ClearLogic Solutions. So what is it that we do? Well, we help businesses improve their performance through business systems, strategy, risk and compliance, and work health and safety services. You can check us out at clearlogicsolutions.com.au or on Facebook or LinkedIn. To stay up to date with the latest episodes of Your Country Business, we're on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and the audio version of the podcast gets streamed to just about every possible podcast app that's out there. So we're on Spotify, we're on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, you name it, we're probably on there. If not, you can always check us out at the website, and we've also got some streaming options that are available live on the website there. But that's enough for me. Let's jump into episode 3 of Your Country Business. Episode 3, Your Country Business, here with Rick Grinsell from Roma Fire and First Aid. Welcome, Rick. Thanks very much for coming on Your Country Business.
Morning, Shane. How are you?
Yeah, good, mate. Good. So, Rick, tell us a little bit about Roma Fire and First Aid. What do you do there in the business, mate?
We're predominantly a fire protection business. We got into First Aid a little while back because people asked us to. And so about 3 years ago, I rebadged the company, and now we are Roma Fire and First Aid. We sell and maintain firefighting equipment. We teach people how to use it, and we do the same with first aid equipment.
Yep. And I believe Roma resident, 20 years, and quite a number of years in the fire protection industry.
Yeah, we moved here in 2000. I had 20 years in the industry before that, and so I've just passed 40 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And look, I still enjoy it. There are very challenging days, but then there are times when something happens that really makes it all worthwhile.
Yeah. And just before the show, you were saying you'd like to share some stories about smoke alarms and fire extinguishers. So, by all means, let's hear them.
Okay. We're about 4 years into the business, and one of the agricultural companies asked us to put fire equipment and smoke alarms in their buildings. We didn't have an electrical license then, so I got Ronnie Pollard to put the smoke alarms in. That was in about February, March. The weather got cold, obviously, and one of the little old places, a fellow and his wife lit the fire one night. They had a new baby. They were outside having a cup of tea. They didn't know that the mortar had fallen out of the back of the fireplace. It actually burnt through the wall into the baby's room and was filling the room full of smoke. The smoke alarm went off. They got inside just as the smoke was rolling over the cot, saved the baby. And the fire extinguisher they were able to control the fire until the fire brigade got there. So that's a real wow moment. You live on things like that.
Yeah, so obviously different case without the smoke alarm, then not waking up.
Oh, yeah, it would have been tragedy.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yep.
And then Claire, my daughter, and I, we had a business trip to Brisbane a little while ago, and we were leaving a car park. A bit of a bomb car came in to park and pulled up, and his front passenger side wheel was on fire. And Claire was very quick to think and jumped out, grabbed a new extinguisher out of a box out of the back of the ute, raced over and put the fire out right in the middle of a car park, which could have been disastrous.
Yep.
So, yeah, little things like that make it all worthwhile.
And it's all about that prior preparation, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Without that, obviously, there'd be different outcomes with it. So, Rick, take us back before the business, before moving to Roma. What what were you doing back in the day? Like that led you eventually to where you are now. What did that look like?
All right. I was born in Tenterfield, which really is part of Queensland, New South Wales. Just think they own it. And we moved throughout country New South Wales for a number of years, then up to Pittsworth in Queensland, and I finished my high school in Maroochydore, joined the Air Force for a while, moved up and down, around about, and I was actually on my way up to Jabiru for a job up there, and I stopped in Cairns and thought, I like this, I'll give myself a week to find a place to live and work, and I got into the fire protection industry, and I've liked it, and I've been in it ever since. So 40 years, half of it was in North Queensland, in Cairns, Townsville, Mount Isa. Then back to Townsville. The people I worked for got bought out, and there was a little redundancy package on offer. My wife and I came to Roma. I spent the weekend talking to people, signed a contract on a house on the Monday, drove back to Townsville, packed up, moved down here. Didn't know a soul.
So let me get this right. So if you moved from, I guess, the metropolitan or the large areas like down south sort of thing, where you've travelled around a bit, and you made your way up to Cairns, nice tropical spot, beaches and all the rest of it. So why out in the rural area? Why Roma of all places?
Opportunity.
Yeah.
I mean, I remembered Roma from playing football out here when I was a kid, and coming through here a couple of times with Dad. And I just knew that I knew the calibre of the industry people who came out this way, and I knew there'd be an opportunity here. And Roma to me is recession proof, with the variety of different industries we have here. When one's up, it covers for the others that are down. Even when the drought was at its worst, we had enough things going on here that the town survives, and it always will.
Yeah. So take us then from signing a contract in Roma, obviously in a short space of time by the sounds of that, to those days first scratching to get the business off the ground. What did that look like?
Oh, it looked like me operating out of the boot of a family Corolla, which was really quite interesting. But look, I filled shelves at Woolies almost every night for a year and a half, like a lot of business owners in Roma actually have, just to put food on the table. And I spoke to people. Brian Reardon was enormous help because he knew so many people. And I when we first got here, I spoke to people in service stations and pubs. That's always a great place to meet people. And Brian put me in touch with people like Lynn Kieski, who put me in touch with people like Russell Fleming, who we've sadly lost. And they obviously saw enough in me to trust me and started giving me a bit of work, and things just grew. I had to keep going and asking for work.
Yeah.
But that's how you do grow a business.
So it was that sense of community, I guess, behind you making those contacts to be able to help support you to get that off the ground and then also to grow it.
Yeah. And the other thing I did fairly quickly once I got here, I came from a situation where I was working with 30 or 40 people every day to just working by myself. Within 3 months, I joined the Lions Club, and because I knew I needed the camaraderie, but that also helped. It was actually through Lions that I got my first introduction to OCA, which of course Origin ended up buying in 2003, and we are still doing their work here in 2020.
Yeah. Funny you mention about working by yourself. I think that is probably one of the biggest challenges starting up a business, is that it's all on you. And we were talking a little bit about that before the show. So how do you find that, especially in those early days, as a challenge? Like, what impact did that have?
I did this thinking that I'd have more time for family and more time for kids. And I did for a while because I wasn't doing a lot of work.
Yep.
But it does put a lot of pressure on the family. You have to find time for them, and being a workaholic, which I already knew I was, it didn't get much easier for me. But look, I had fantastic support from my wife and my kids, and eventually we've got there.
Yeah, it is really tricky. I think when, as a business owner, you tend to be, to some degree, the master of your own destiny. It all wholly solely relies on you to either make it or break it, sort of thing. And I think that pressure sometimes can be pretty overwhelming. And like you said, it's good to have that community support. And you mentioned Lions there, to be able to know that you're not alone with that. So I think that's a really good testimony to those community groups as well, and that broader community networking in the rural areas with that. But one other thing I found really interesting, we're talking about before the show, is we're mentioning the survival and challenges of business, but you mentioned the idea of a book. Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay. I'll just digress a little bit. One thing that I guess we crave when we start a business is success, but I don't think we give enough thought to how we're actually going to manage it when we are successful.
Yeah.
And that has a lot of challenges of its own. And I just had a really bad day one day, and I thought, I wonder how many other people feel like I do. And I thought of a book title, and it's called Buy a Bigger Hanky. and that's because there are times when, and maybe even still today, I just wanted to curl up underneath a desk and cry, because you put in so much effort and things don't quite go right. And sometimes things go catastrophically wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I will write. It'll be a coffee table book. It'll be frank and honest, and probably totally inappropriate. But it'll also be humorous. So yeah, it'll happen before I die.
I can see the cover. I like the idea of the cover. Buy a big hanky. You're going to need a big hanky. And I guess that's the thing too, isn't it? Going back to the master of your own destiny, is that as a business owner, you really got to, like, the world is usually in chaos to some degree, and it's up to us to carve order out of it. And like you mentioned, sometimes that doesn't go well. We have these grand plans, and life happens, and sometimes little things happen. And how have you, I guess personally, like you mentioned there before about the journey of success. So how have you, to some degree, managed some of the times like where things just go to chaos?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I've had a lot of reliance on my family, both here in Roma and my extended family and friends. I've had a lot of support from my customers, the people who I serve. I find them a never-ending source of support. But we've had some tough times. The business has cost me a lot of time with my kids when they were younger.
Yeah.
It eventually cost me a marriage to a fantastic woman who helped raise two great kids. But I'm a person. I'm not a religious person, but I have a very strong faith,
Mm-hmm.
and I also have a very strong belief in what I'm doing, and in people. And I keep coming back to that. If I can surround myself with good people, then I can get through anything.
Yeah. It's having that social network, really. And like you said, I think it's the chats down at the pub or at the community group or something like that. When you're when life is in chaos and turmoil a bit, is having that mate alongside you that can sort of give you a bit of grounding, I guess, and just sort of help you through those tougher times. It is. So moving from the survival and challenges part of the podcast here, and probably taking a bit of a lighter side and looking at the innovation and overcoming of it, because running a small business isn't all doom and gloom, but obviously there is a significant cost, and it does come with its own challenges, both financially in the business and personally as well. So what's some of the stuff that you've been able to, some of the benefits or some of the things that you've really enjoyed about running a business out in the bush?
Oh, undoubtedly, it's the people we deal with, and the people, and both internally, as in my team at work, and the customers we deal with. I mean, we travel as far as Thargomindah, Eromanga, out past the other side of Windora, up to Rolleston, Billawheeler, down to the border. So we cover a large slice of Queensland. And whilst I don't do all the travelling that I used to, I've made very good lifelong friendships along the way, and just acquaintances. We don't have a bad customer in that whole area.
Yep.
Some are a bit challenging, but the people in regional areas, people in the bush are different. There's no doubt about that, and we are all a bit suspicious to start with, but once you win us, you've got us forever, pretty much. And there's been a lot of people who have, over the years, helped me build this business, and I've stuck by them, they've stuck by me, and even in recent times, this current situation we're in, because we're an essential business and our business hasn't been heavily impacted, we've been able to help some who have been impacted.
Yeah.
And I'm very happy about that. That is entirely in keeping with my own personal ethos and the ethos of the people who work with me. I don't have people working for me, I have people working with me.
Yep. And probably one thing, obviously, declare now that there was a brief moment in history where I was your employee.
You were?
I was. And one thing that you don't quite think about it until you go through it is you don't realise where fire extinguishers are and where they are. And that's one thing that blew me away, especially with your business, is you mentioned the places you get to travel. So one very fond memory that I do have is, I think me and another chap went out to a drilling rig out near Moomba in the time that the Channel Country was all out in flower. And not that I'd probably ever go out on a holiday there, probably maybe down the track at some point, but it was just absolutely awesome to be able to go out there, and that's work, to drive through the ups and downs of the Channel Country and just see a beautiful part of Australia. And I think getting in touch with all those different businesses, because you've got fire extinguishers in banks, you've got them out in gas fields, you've got them out on quarry sites, and everything in between. And that was one element of the business I thought was really cool. And like you said, being able to meet all the different people with that have you found any, like any other benefits, or I guess learnings out of being able to cover something that, like, I'm assuming that would have to be at least maybe 10% of Australia or something around the number of that. It'd have to be a pretty big distance to cover for a business.
It is. Now, we just need to clarify your employment for everyone. Your dad's business took off, and he rang me and said, I need him, and blood's thicker than water. And so Shane didn't get sacked. His dad needed him, and I understood. Look, travelling out there is amazing, and the point you make about the wildflowers, the landscape is always changing. And I see, and we see, as all the people who go out there, and even just locally, but we see the most amazing sunsets and sunrises, and I'm a lover of the night sky, and it just doesn't get any better than winter in Western Queensland. It's worth freezing yourself to death to just get out and see the absolute blaze in the heavens.
There are some cold mornings the further west you go. I do remember that part.
That's true. No, look, it's. I tell people it's good for the soul. We spend a lot of time travelling by ourselves, but the trade-off is that you just see such variations And you really, because we do it regularly, the changes in the seasons and the beauty after rain and the absolute the desolation that we had, even in this year. I had to go to St George on the 2nd of January, and there's a stretch there where I lost count of the number of dead kangaroos, but there was just as many live ones sort of sitting beside the road waiting to die. It was so dry before we got that rain. So you go from the that really tugs at your heartstrings, and then it rains, and all of a sudden you can't see any livestock anywhere because the grass is so high.
Going through the different seasons.
Yeah, and there's a squillion butterflies. So if you have an appreciation for nature, it certainly helps when you've got a job that's on the road a lot.
Yeah, yep. And probably talking about different seasons then, 20 years in Roma, and just, that long running a business based out in a rural part of Queensland, that's something, pat yourself on the back. That's great. Testament to sustainability of a business. What do you think is a key point that is, I guess, it's not a sprint. Yeah, I guess it's a marathon sort of thing. So what would be a takeaway that you've learned out of doing it for the long haul?
I think the biggest thing is not to let people down. A fellow called Barry Urquhart from Western Australia, I was a big fan of his many years ago, and he was big on quality customer service, and that's something that I try and hammer into everyone who works with me, is that the customer is actually a part of our team. They're the people who pay us. They're the people who pay their wages and that sort of thing. So we need to operate in a highly ethical way, and we need to be very understanding. Everybody out there has a bad day. Everybody out there has good days, and sometimes we cop them on a bad day, and we have to be understanding of that and not go, oh well, I'm not going back there again. Yeah. Because we're in a service business, and service and serve are from the same derivative, and we're there to serve people. Yeah. And once you gain a reputation in a rural area, it tends to stay with you. Unlike the city where things chop and change and that sort of thing, because you have so many, especially small businesses that are family businesses like mine, like yours, you're dealing with those people for 30, 40, 50 years.
Do you think that comes with a level of, because of the smaller nature of the communities, comes within a level of accountability compared to working in a larger metropolitan area?
Oh, it does. I mean, we see these people walking down the street. I serve them out of the Lions chip van. Same in Charleville, Cunnamulla, that sort of thing. Unlike in the city where you're just someone at the end of a phone, here we actually see our customers. We interact with them. We talk with them.
Yep. Have to live in a community where you will see them all the time.
Yeah. They might be sitting across the table from us at a restaurant or whatever. Our kids go to school together. So it's you become part of community. I made the point when we were discussing this earlier that in the cities the football teams always used to have a suburban name. But now they're all rabbits or eagles or whatever. The enormity of the city has taken over, and the identity of the original is being lost. And that's sad. People don't know their neighbours, whereas here we know our neighbours, and chances are we're doing work for them.
Yep, we rely on them as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I think that's a good thing. Even growing up out here, it comes back to probably that social structure of having a tribe and being accountable to them and growing, not only the business but as a person as well. Where the moments where I have done some work in a metropolitan area, it's very easy to just fade away and just be in your own little shell, and you don't have to have that level of accountability to some degree compared to what you do out here. So I think it is a big difference with that. So probably the other thing then is the benefits of living in a rural community. How have you seen that probably even play out into your own workforce side of things with where the challenges or the benefits with recruitment and retaining teams out here. Because one thing I have found is when it gets hot out west, people start to complain about the heat a little bit, and the beach is a bit further away than what it might be. So how have you managed to overcome or deal with that within your business?
I don't think you ever overcome it.
Yeah.
We consciously try and recruit and train local.
Yep.
And of course, you always have the issue then where you get someone to a level of expertise, and their girlfriend wants to move to the coast, or their boyfriend wants to move to the coast, or whatever, and you end up losing them. We've lost quite a few to family and that sort of thing over on the coast. That's unfortunate, but that's part of business. We've also managed to bring a few people out from the city and they've assimilated well here.
Mm-hmm.
I think the thing is to continue to have faith in the local community and continue to try and look and create within the community. I mean, one of my stated aims when I kicked this business off was to create a level of expertise in this area that didn't exist before.
Mm.
And we've got a fairly good balance of youth and age in our business now. We're getting there.
Do you find that your practices within the business change a little bit? Because it is, even growing up out here with, friends, and you find people move into town and they move out of town, and it does become a little bit transient. Do you find that your practices within the business change because you start to preempt that, or that, well, this is just part of doing business out here?
I don't know that I've ever thought of it that way. Yeah. Actually, you're probably right. I'm becoming a lot more intuitive, I'll say, about what's likely to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I'm taking more notice of little things that people do and say, and I'm just sort of clocking that in the background, thinking, well, yep, they're going to be good, or I better keep an eye on this one. I guess it does have an effect. But yeah, it's interesting. I hadn't thought of it the way you asked it.
Moving on to some advice for people that might be either thinking about taking the journey of becoming a business owner, or might already be along that pathway. What's some advice that you would like to impart to those people that are on the journey?
I think the first thing is if you have the first thing is do it.
Take the step.
Be brave, take the step, because if you want to make a change in the world, it's much easier to do as someone who is a business owner than someone who's working for a business. Find out what it is you think you want to do, and start listening to, because that's the easiest way. It's easier than reading. Start listening to just business podcasts, learn the language of business, and start to put together a support team before you even look at getting into the business proper. Excuse me. There'll be things about the business that you're very good at, and there'll be a lot of things that you're not, and that's where you need your support team, so that when you are ready to start swinging spanners or painting or whatever it is you're going to do, doctoring, whatever, you've already got the support team you need. A big part of where business fails is that a lot of us are not fortunate enough to be very good at administration.
Yep.
And you can work as hard as you like, but if your admin's no good, you will just fail. So administration is king in my books, because that's what turns your hard work into dollars in the bank.
Yeah, it's not all about the as much as you might be thinking you're doing really well doing whatever you do in your business. If all that stuff's not happening in the back end, that's what you're saying is that's where you can come unstuck.
Oh yeah, most definitely, and that's statistics prove that. That's why so many businesses go broke in the first 5 years.
Yeah.
So get that in place first. Maintain your integrity. If you haven't got integrity, then your business belongs in the garbage dump. And always maintain it, especially in a rural area, because people don't forget. You don't get the changes like you do in the city. So you get one, maybe two shots at it. Doesn't matter how much. Well, not quite. If you make mistakes, but people can see you're a person of good heart and good integrity, they're more accepting. And I think the other thing is to get yourself a good business coach, someone to keep you on track. It costs money, but I think it's well worth it. It helps to keep you on track, helps to keep fresh ideas in your mind. And if you get the right one, they become part of your business, and they really do help.
Do you think that helps with some of the level of accountability, given the fact that we are, as business owners, no one's keeping an eye on us outside of our customers and what we keep an eye on? Does it help with that level of accountability to be able to have those chats about your business with someone else?
Oh, most certainly. And in the process, you've got a very good business brain to bounce ideas off.
Yep.
So that you don't make bad decisions, because every bad decision started as a good idea.
Say that again to me.
Every bad decision started as a good idea.
And we were all present at each one of those decisions.
Oh, look, yeah, it happens. It's only when we get down the track we go, oh no, I wish I hadn't.
Yeah, yep. I'll have to leave that one sink in for a bit, I think. No, that's good. Okay, well, something a little bit different on the podcast here we're just going to move into. Something a little bit funner, to dive into a little bit behind the psyche of Rick Grinsell and what the man is like behind the business of the person servicing the fire extinguisher. What we're going to do is a quick little question minute round. So I'm going to set the timer here for 1 minute. And these are random questions. So the first thing that pops to your mind. I can edit anything out afterwards, so it's all good. We're in a safe space. So are you ready to fire away?
Righto, let's do it.
Let's go. Okay. What would you name your boat if you had one?
Abundance.
Okay. What food do you hate?
Offal.
Where would you never want to go on holiday?
I don't get to have holidays, so anywhere is good.
Order a drink at a bar.
Red wine.
Would you rather be covered in fur or covered in scales?
Fur.
Are you always early or always late?
I'm always late.
How do you take your coffee?
Strong, without sugar, but with milk.
What would your superpower be?
Intuition.
What is your spirit animal?
Oh, I don't know. Okay. Maybe an eagle?
Okay. Sushi or tacos?
Sushi.
Oh, there we go. It's got us on sushi. I think we made our way up to 10 questions. That's great. That's pretty good in a minute. That's awesome. Well, Rick, we're just going into the elevator pitch at the moment. So give us a quick pitch about what you do, and if someone's interested in getting some assistance with that, where can they find you and find out some more information?
Okay, thanks, mate. I'm going to go left field here just to throw you out. First thing I want to put a pitch in for is I'm president of the Lions Club of Roma at the moment. Lions is an international organisation. We're always looking for new members because we build towns and communities. Please consider it. If you're watching this, join a local Lions Club. Okay, Roma Fire. Roma Fire and First Aid. We sell and service firefighting equipment. We teach people how to use it. We also do alarm systems, smoke alarms. We do the same with first aid equipment. We have a first aid trainer. We maintain first aid kits, anything from bandages through to defibs through to I can get you an ambulance if you want. We've got a great team. We've been going 20 years. Currently, we're on Raglan Street in Roma, in the Workshops complex. We next year we will move into our own wonderful, beautiful property. You can find us on the web at all the W's, romafire.com.au. The girls have also thrown us up on Facebook because I don't have the ability to do that. We operate business hours, but because we're an on-call business, the phone gets answered pretty well 24/7.
Yep, awesome. Oh, Rick, thanks very much for coming on, being a guest on Your Country Business. It's much appreciated and great chat, mate. Loved it. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Shane.